Hope you're doing good. Micah back with another video. Back here to talk about the iPad Pro over 7 months later, and how has the experience been, and is it worth upgrading to the M3 iPad Pro? Now, the reason why I designed this video the way I did and I titled it that way is because the M2 chip is no joke in this beautiful iPad Pro. And what I wanted to do in this video is kind of take you down a journey, kind of story tell, which will lead into the decision I make at the end of this video as to whether or not I will upgrade my M2 iPad Pro to the M3 iPad Pro. Case in point, we'll get into the hardware later, but I'll also let you know why, outside of great hardware craftsmanship, why it still looks like this. So, without further ado, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, the notification bell. It's all free. That way, when it's my videos, you and I can sit back and see what's cracking. Now, let's get into the video. And the first thing I wanted to discuss is, why do I have an iPad Pro in the first place? Well, for me, the iPad is the center of my tech and Apple universe. It is not the iPhone. It is not my Samsung Galaxy devices. I don't even have a laptop. The sole reason why I switched over to Apple was for the iPad. The guilty pleasure of mine was being in Android world and lusting for an iPad. I had the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra Beast. I had several Samsung tablets before that, and although I liked them, they did not satisfy me the way this iPad Pro has. And that's because this is what I wanted. This is what got me an iPhone, AirPods, and now looking at other Apple products down the line. But the iPad Pro is what I truly always wanted once it became an official device from Apple. With that being said, because I do video creation, or I create videos online for you guys, I do some photo editing. But for me, photo editing could be taken care of in my Android world without a laptop. I do a lot more hard work when it comes to my workflow. And so that's why I wanted the iPad Pro. I was bottlenecked. I was limited with my Samsung device, and of course on the phone I was as well. And for a time I used LumaFusion when it came over to Android, and I was going to jump on the LumaFusion over here in Apple's world before DaVinci became a real thing. And so that's what I use to edit my content. So the whole reason why I have an iPad Pro is because I have an elevated form of workflow, and I need the processing power and battery life. And so for me, the iPad Air would not have done it. I also like the 120 hertz display we have on here. The mini LEDs is beautiful on here. And although I have a screen protector on here from Paperlight, link will be in the description box below, I still enjoy how it illuminates color and high definition from this display. The iPad Pro M2 chip is a marvel, and I continue to marvel at it every day when I use it. Setting this to the side just real quick, let's also not forget that in order to accomplish a lot of that I have been accomplishing with my iPad, I need that magic keyboard. And yes, some greasy fingers have been typing and swiping away on this, but this Apple Magic Keyboard works wonders. I love the Magic Keyboard with the iPad Pro. It serves very, very well, and I also use a Logitech MX Master 3S for and to complete my workflow, specifically when it comes to editing and maneuvering around on my iPad. This felt material here feels very, very good. And as you see, it's still in great condition, still doing what it's supposed to. And I will now leave that over there. It completes the package for the iPad Pro. That's why I have an iPad Pro, because I need that power and storage. This unit here in particular, the reason why I got this one is because of the options that Apple provides for the iPad Pro. This is a 16 gigabyte, 1 terabyte model. M2 chip based iPad Pro. This is the 2022 or 6th generation iPad Pro. That 16 gigs of RAM provides me the necessary memory and comfort to be able to edit in the first place. The storage, the 1 terabyte, although I was very close to getting 2 terabytes, it was just slightly out of my price range at the time. The 1 terabyte affords me the ability to save my files from DaVinci or photos and videos that I'm taking for my video content for you guys on the iPad. And then I also pay for an additional 2 bytes of iCloud storage. That way, between my iPhone and iPad, I can get to my content interchangeably with no problems. I love this iPad. I got to experience using the Apple Pencil briefly, the 2nd generation model, and I had it docked right there. That's the charger for it, as you guys can see right there. And wasn't all the way for me. To me, I think that Apple Pencil is definitely more so for drawers or writers, and for me, the writing aspect I was getting into because it was fun. And now with this Paperlike screen protector, I may pick up another Apple Pencil in the very near future. But I did not have a big use case for the Apple Pencil because of the type of work that I do. Now, in terms of the quality in which, when I'm not working, how does the iPad Pro last from that perspective? As we talked about, this beautifully lit display provides. Media consumption is absolutely wonderful on here, specifically with Apple TV Plus. It's crazy how well their content is designed to be watched on Apple products, and the iPad Pro is no slouch. It is absolutely a marvel to watch content on here, and really content in general. But there's like a certain pop with Apple-based content that really shines on this iPad Pro. So when you consider media consumption, when you consider the hardware that I need to do my work, those reasons are fulfilled, and I'm glad I got the M2 based, not the M1, but the M2 based iPad Pro 12.9 inch beast. This leads me to battery life. When it comes to my workflow, when it comes to these specs, is the iPad able to withstand the storm? And at first it was not. When DaVinci was first being used on here, DaVinci was still kind of new with the iPad Pro. It was destroying my iPad Pro. I'm talking about it was not moving swift and smooth like this. If you ever want to know what that little circle looks like from like MacBooks that I hear when you've tapped it out, you've tapped the MacBook out, it needs time to rest. The equivalent to that on the iPad Pro is getting the heat temperature message. Yes, this overheated several times when trying to render my content through DaVinci. Now, part of that was my fault, and that is because I was very new to DaVinci, so it was a learning curve on how to operate and use and manage DaVinci and learning how to render properly and all that fun jazz. So me trying to get a couple videos out in the very beginning when I switched to the iPad and finally dove into DaVinci, it was not a fun experience. This guy was tapping out on me left and right. And so I started questioning whether or not the iPad Pro was going to actually be enough, because I just didn't know how to really use and optimize DaVinci. And then once I finally did, I realized just how beast mode this iPad Pro is. I'm able to edit 4K footage with relatively no problems in a relatively decent render time. Depending on the length of the video, it can take anywhere between 5 minutes. Well, okay, so if we're talking about videos that are 8 minutes or longer, you're looking at anywhere between like 5 minutes and 8 minutes to render that 8-minute video. Once we start breaching 12 minutes and 15 minutes, now you're looking at 7, 8 minutes, 9 minutes to render the video. And you're looking at a 20-minute video, you're looking at about 10 minutes or so to render that. So for me, that's not that big a deal. It is what it is for this package. The one area this does struggle, though, when it comes to editing is being able to add a lot of different transitional effects. I don't know why I didn't catch my face. Adding a lot of different transitional effects or video transitions or effects, that's where this struggles. And that is because this is the base M2 chip. And I think that probably won't change with the M3. But there are certain elements that I would like to add to my videos for you guys. And I can't do that with the iPad Pro M2 chip, because although it handles 4K footage relatively no problems, once you start stacking, B-roll, C-roll, D-roll, for lack of a better term, stacking videos on top of it, you start noticing it lagging some. Once you start adding titles and once you start adding some things to the video, that's when you start noticing the bottleneck, or it's pushing this pretty hard. Now, maybe having a 24 gig RAM model might help with some of that, or it's just the fact of the matter that the M2 chip the base M2 is not optimized for hard video processing. And of course you can tap that into the GPU as well, but the M2 chip base model is not sufficient enough to handle a lot of additional aspects of video editing, but it can do 4K straight through relatively no problems. And so that's what I've been able to do and get away with, which I've been more or less comfortable with, and you guys have been enjoying the videos. So I'm glad that hasn't been a problem to this point. So with my workflow, with the nearly maxed out iPad Pro M2 variant, because I'm 1 terabyte, not 2 terabytes, the battery life that I achieve out of this is really, really good. Despite video editing, I'm able to achieve a lot of video editing in one day and still able to get media consumption in for a few hours before I have to put this on a charger. So this will, in general, essentially last me a day. So I like using a wake up time. So let's say I wake up around 10, 11. I start working around 12. I start editing on this around 1. So I transferred footage over. That's now starting to see a teeny bit of battery life. Then I'm editing. That's where you get the battery life consumption, although that has improved month over month with these iPadOS updates. And I think DaVinci has become more optimized with a few updates that they've dropped as well the last few months. That has really helped tailor the DaVinci Resolve app to the M2 chip and or the iPad Pro in general. So I've noticed that while editing, it does not drain as much battery as it used to in the very beginning. Just editing the video used to drain a lot of battery, and then rendering was the ultimate smackdown. Now it's just really a rendering that's more or less the ultimate smackdown, unless I'm editing like a 40-minute video or something, which rarely happens. But when it comes to that, I can still enjoy daily personal use out of this once I'm done with my workflow. So battery life is still good with this M2 chip. But with that being said, the 16 gigs of RAM, the 1 terabyte, the beautiful display, the size, the speakers, is this enough? Is the M2 chip enough for me to not upgrade to the M3 chip? And I will have to say, no, it is not enough for me to look the other way when that M2 chip drops. And the reason why that is because the M2 chip also is not as solid when it comes to battery life as the M3 chip. The M3 chip has added tremendous optimizations to battery life. And you'll see that with reports and videos between the M2 MacBook Air and the M3 MacBook Air. Battery life is significantly better with the M3 chip. So just from a battery perspective alone, the M3 chip maximizes battery life. And from a performance perspective, although it's like, I think they said it's about a 20% increase or so when it comes to overall performance upgrades between the M3 and M2, I think that is more than enough to help workflows like mine when it comes to video editing, that little extra bump in power to be able to fulfill some additional desires when it comes to the video editing process. Now, if you're just a photo editor, you don't have to upgrade. The M2 chip, even the M1 chip, the new Apple Silicon is more than sufficient for photo editing. Now, if you're a Photoshop person, then that's where you may waver on upgrading. But if you're Lightroom based, if you use Lightroom to just do your photo editing, Pixar or some other Canva, stuff like that, you'll be completely fine with this. Once you start getting into 3D effects and all that, yeah, I would start looking at probably, again, wavering or contemplating upgrading to the M3. And for my workflow, being a video editor, being a tech YouTuber, so to speak, tech enthusiast, tech reviewer, right? Having this new hardware will also help benefit you guys in your purchasing decisions and entertainment value. But for me, it will definitely help with me in terms of the back end with production for these videos for you guys. So that's why it's very easy for me to say that I can upgrade to the M3 iPad Pro, not just because of the M3 chip, but because there's other improvements based off the rumors now. This is all based off the rumors that the display technology is getting completely overhauled. We're getting OLED, we're getting double stack technology, which will allow higher nittage, higher brightage, brightness from the display. So that will improve quality of content and media consumption and editing, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get higher quality displays here. Of course, they always fine tune the speakers. We might get a center camera for landscape mode. You know, we might get MagSafe on the back, just to name a few of the rumored specs and leaks. And I hope that they do drop a 24 gigabyte version. With the M3 MacBook Air, there is a 24 gigabyte version MacBook Air. I would be very happy to have a M3 24 gigabyte RAM, 2 terabyte, 12.9 inch iPad Pro. That's a mouthful, but that is my desired iPad Pro. And thereafter, depending on the changes they make, because it has been a while since they dropped new iPads, or at least really upgraded the iPad Pros, I don't know what they could do that would potentially persuade me to upgrade an iPad again, because by that point, I will probably be in MacBook territory. And unless I'm doing very well on YouTube and I can just afford to just buy it to review and stuff like that, I will be more than satisfied with maintaining the M3 iPad Pro until A, either software updates run out, or B, again, significant upgrades and updates to the tablet and hardware that would push for an update. So for me, in my workflow, yes, I am upgrading to the M3 iPad Pro. I don't know how soon, but that is my desire, my plan to upgrade to the M3 iPad Pro. If you don't have a workflow that involves a lot of video editing or even photo editing, just having an M1 or M2 chip-based device, iPad, you'll be completely fine. Whether it's the iPad Air or iPad Pro, you'll be completely fine. You don't even have to jump to 1 terabyte of storage, most likely. And for me, I jumped to the 1 terabyte because it came with the 16 gigs of RAM. 16 gigs of RAM only comes with the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte model iPad Pros. You don't even need that if you don't have those kind of workflows. If you don't have those kind of workflows, don't sweat it. Just get you a 512 gigabyte M2 iPad Pro, because these will be going on sale. And I might sell mine once the M3 iPad Pro drops. The M1 iPad Pros are also available, are also just as efficient for normal basic workflows or just media consumption, all that type of stuff, because you're getting the Pro iPad for the 120 hertz as well, right? ProMotion is only with the iPad Pros. It's not on the iPad Air. That's 60 hertz still. So again, if that's a big deal, then I would say, yeah, you'll have to get an iPad Pro. But if that's not, stick with an M1 and or futuristic M2 iPad Air that's dropping alongside the M3 iPad Pros, and enjoy your technology in that way. So that's what I have to say about the iPad Pro 7 months later. And am I going to upgrade? Yes, I'm going to upgrade. And I can recommend you upgrading the M3 iPad Pro if you also do any form of video editing. If you do photo editing, it's not as big a deal. And if you don't do either one of those and you just surf the web, email, iMessage, watch videos and whatnot, consume content, stick with your current device. You don't have to upgrade. But if you do like the technological upgrades with the display and potential MagSafe, then I would say, hey, if you got this money, drop it, boy, drop it. So that is my thoughts on the iPad Pro 7 months later, and the M3 iPad Pros on the horizon. I'm very excited for them, and supposedly it might be coming next week, because today is Wednesday, so supposedly it might get launched or announced next Tuesday, March 26th. We'll see. You know, I'll try to do some coverage for it next week as well. So hopefully you guys appreciate the video, and let me know down in the comment section below, are you guys thinking about upgrading? Are you guys content with what you guys have, the comment section is open for discussion. But again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, the notification bell. That way you know my videos. So you and I can sit back, check, see what's cracking. It's Micah signing out. Until the next video. Wait for